to this week's live stream with me, your host, Justin Merrill, and welcome to the Spikes and Gills every Monday night live stream. This next series of live streams for several weeks ahead will all be about deer and deer hunting stories, deer hunting tactics, tips, and a lot of it will come from the people joining me live. A lot of the friends that I made here on doing this live stream for the last several months, every Monday night, of the chatting. As those come on live and start chatting, they'll share their stories and their tips and little tidbits and put in their 2 cents about deer in general, like deer, like current events around deer, deer facts about deer, whitetail deer, and put in their 2 cents about deer hunting in general. I want to eventually, when I get some people on here, I'm waiting. Okay, hi there, we got someone just joined me. If you're joining me live now, please start a chat, start typing away. Yeah, Jason Gibson, welcome, buddy. I was expecting you. And there's a few others that I'm hoping come on this Monday night because I know that they just ended their moose hunt. And they did tell me they would be the next Monday that they were available free, they would be joining me live to share their experience of their moose hunt that they just ended. But obviously this live stream is going to be about how to get a buck or a doe for that matter to come right into your lap. And obviously I'm referring to calling, whether it be rattling or using deer calls in general, like calling with your own voice, your own mouth, or using the manufactured deer calls that you can buy. I got Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods doesn't sell hunting gear anymore. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, I want to lead off this live stream this Monday night talking about just how sensitive a deer's hearing is. And believe it or not, I didn't know if you knew this, but a white-tailed deer's hearing is really not all that much more greater than a human's hearing. It really is not. You've got to take into consideration the weather, and the climate and weather on the day that you plan on going out to the woods and using deer calling tactics to try to coax in a buck or doe into your lap, whether you're rattling or using mouth blown manufactured calls or using your your own voice to call. You've got to figure, if you really got to think, if it's a real windy day, if let's say it's a 10 or more mile per hour minimum wind with gusts over 20 to 30 miles per hour every so many minutes, that's a horrible day for using calling. That's a better day actually to use like slip hunting or still hunting, or however you want to word it, slip hunting or still hunting type tactics. A lot of times when it's real windy and it's just after rain, or let's say it's a foggy, light rainy type day with a lot of wind, a lot of times I like to use this tactic. It's known as slip hunting or still hunting, or scout. I call it scout hunting in a sense. And that's where I might make a plan to go to a certain area to where I believe there could be some good bucks bedding, or where there could be some bedding areas that might hold some doe groups with some cruising bucks that are like kind of tending those does, maybe had been chasing them, following them around. Maybe one of the does could be nearing estrus and holding the bucks in the area. I'll pick a spot where I believe all this activity be going on, and I'll just slip in as quietly and as still as possible. I'll just take so many steps and stop. And a lot of times I look ahead and pick out a vantage point, a clearing, or a good vantage point that would give me great shooting lanes. And a lot of times I'll stop there and I will do a call-in sequence. You call this slip hunting, if you will, or scout hunting, or still hunting while using calling. You know, I might tickle the antlers a little bit. You know, early season, obviously. Early season, once bucks shed their velvet, they're rubbing trees on a more regular basis. I didn't know if you knew this, but bucks coming out of the summer months, when they were in there like little groups of 2 or 3 or more bucks, and those bachelor groups, that's the word that's always been thrown out there for eons, the bachelor group of bucks. In some cases, especially in Maine with a low deer density, in areas with very low deer density, not a huge deer population, that bachelor group of bucks could only be 2. I see that a lot here in the state of Maine, just groups of 2 bucks. In some cases, 3 hanging together, traveling together, bedding together in a buck bedding area, and feeding together. And as the velvet starts shedding, and as they're starting to feel the mood and starting to want to do bucky things, they might start establishing their pecking order. They'll spar a little bit. I've actually witnessed this with my own eyes. It was almost beginning of October, because I was setting. I don't think I was bow hunting yet. I don't think I owned a bow and arrow and took the bow hunter safety course at this time in my life. I don't think I was bow hunting, so I was setting up a stand set for the rifle hunt. But it was in the beginning of October, and I was there at the tree, putting up my steps and getting my stand ready to go hang up in the tree. And I heard some commotion across the ravine and up on the flats on the opposite side of the ravine, on the opposite ridge from where I was setting my stand on. This ravine was like a nice little drainage ditch draw. It was real steep, had steep banks on either side, and it gradually sloped downward to lower elevation. And it was fairly wide. I think it was 50 plus yards wide, this ravine. And I was setting my stand up almost near the head of that draw, which was a great spot. I was putting the stand where I could watch the intersection of trails at the head of the draw and watch the trails coming along the left side of my stand site, and watch the trails behind me. And I could see across this ravine or draw, drainage ditch-like area on the opposite side. I was hearing something. I'm like, what is that? And I just actually so happened to have, I actually don't know why, it's strange why I remember this, but I had binoculars with me for a reason. Because I was always scouting, and I was looking with binoculars, and I was trying to find deer, to watch deer in their natural environment, to study deer, to learn from them. And I actually witnessed a couple of young bucks. One of them might have been a 4 or 6 pointer. The other one barely a spike horn, maybe had 3 or 4 points. They were young 1.5-year-old bucks. They were both yearling bucks, but they were doing this in the beginning of October while I was getting ready to hang on tree stand in a spot that I scouted out for the upcoming rifle season. And these bucks were just spot. I got to witness this with my own eyes and hear the sounds that they were making, and I watched it with my binoculars. It was a really, really cool experience. And obviously, calling can't hurt your hunt. Now, I'm going off on a tangent here, because I was beginning this live stream by talking about the deer's hearing capabilities versus a human's hearing capabilities, such so on and so forth. But I'll get back to that in just a moment. But I want to really stress a point here: that deer calling, if done right, I wish I had a deer call. If you're not going, instead, you're not going to scare deer. It's just a, or I wish I had I don't call with my voice. Some of you that might be coming on here live joining me, have probably mastered the art of being able to deer grunt and bleat with your voice. Obviously, I've practiced through all the years, but I found that the True Talker by Hunter Specialties and the Extinguisher Deer Call, those are my two go-to deer calls. I've used those. I found that those two calls sound very, very, very realistic. I might have some deer calls right here in my drawer. I might have the Jerry Peterson deer calls. I've got to have a deer call there somewhere. I must. I usually do. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the Jerry Peterson Woods-wise deer calls. Jerry Peterson, he did a lot of research. He with penned up deer. He developed and designed woods-wise deer calls by mimicking real live penned up deer in a research laboratory area. And I have I have the Woods-wise Hunter videos, VHS tapes from eons ago, a long time ago, and I have Jerry Peterson's Woods-wise deer calls, doe bleats and doe grunt calls, and the buck grunt calls, the hands-free. It was a plastic call and it had a call on each end of it. One end mimicked the deer, the doe bleating and the doe grunt. One end mimicked all the buck calls, and you could take out the mouthpiece of on either end of this call to do hands-free calling. And I started out doing my deer calling using the Woods-wise deer calls a long time ago, over 20 years ago. And believe it or not, I actually got an A in a biology project on calling deer. My project was vocalizations of white-tailed deer and how to call in and coax in deer. And I got an A on my report and an A on my project. I had my best friend at the time, Jason Coombs, go out with me to take pictures of me calling on the ridge. And he actually got a picture of me with a deer call in my mouth and a deer only 30, 40 yards away from me. He got a great picture of that, and I was able to put that on my poster board and had all the picture documentaries. I had the maps drawn up the area where I was doing my calling and practicing my deer calling. And in the dead of winter, in December, January time frame, I have called in deer. They've come in calling back. It's like a tom turkey would do, a turkey hunter calling in, coaxing a gobbler or tom turkey. That turkey will come in gobbling his head off, come in being vocal. I've had deer come in being vocal back at me. I was mimicking deer calls, deer vocalizations. I was being a fake deer, sounding like a deer, and I was hidden very well. Had the wind in my favor. I controlled my scent and such, so on and so forth. And I've had deer come in grunting back and looking and listening for this so-called deer that they thought they were hearing, and all unbeknownst to them, it was me. It was actually a human mimicking these deer calls. But they'd come in and they'd maybe you guys can do it better than me. But anyway, so the National Deer Association. How many of you have ever heard of the National Deer Association? I'm sure many of you that are joining me live have watched their YouTube videos, or maybe you're already subscribed to the National Deer Association's YouTube channel. You watch their videos and stuff, and so on and so forth. The Deer and Deer Hunting channel, and so on and so forth. Well, the National Deer Association, from the research and the scientific studies that they have gone on, that according to them, the National Deer Association, the best hearing range is about 0.25 to 30 kilohertz, where a human's maximum hearing range is 20 kilohertz. Only a 10 kilohertz difference between a deer's hearing capabilities and a human's. And I was saying earlier in my live stream that on a real windy day, if the conditions aren't the best, a deer that's out there 100 yards or more isn't going to hear deer calls. They might pick up on rattling, and they might hear this over 100 yards away on a windy day. So, you on a real windy day, during the rut, during this time of year that it's like the 10th of November right now, the beginning, like probably the 28th of October, all the way through to like the 13th of November. If it's a windy day and you're just not feeling confident that the deer are hearing your mouth blown calls, you're grunting and bleating and stuff, maybe you want to just try rattling. Try a real loud call that really resonates out there and gets out there and reaches a long distance. And that's because a deer, now I'm saying this based on podcasts I've listened to, articles I've read, and stuff I've learned from the National Deer Association themselves, watching their YouTube videos, such and so forth and so on. A deer standing out there 100 yards away and a human standing out there 100 yards away on a fairly windy, 10, 15 mile per hour windy type day, and there's probably some trees in between you. So you're the caller. You call into that deer out there 100 yards away, and that human standing out there 100 yards away. What do you think is going to happen? How well do you think either or is going to be able to hear that conventional calling, that grunting and bleating from that manufactured deer call that's not super loud, mediocre volume, that, believe it or not, a human will pick up on the same sounds, frequencies of sounds similar to that as of a deer. I'm butchering this pretty bad. I'm probably not explaining it perfectly well, but the most sensitive frequencies between 4,000 and 8,000 hertz. So a slightly higher than human's optimal hearing range. So a deer's hearing is most sensitive in that 4,000, 8,000 hertz range. So, and let's see, it says that white-tailed deer have excellent hearing with a wider range of high-frequency sounds than humans and highly mobile ears that can rotate almost 180 degrees. So a deer's ears, they can rotate almost 180 degrees. And they have bigger ears that can catch more frequencies of sound, and to allow their brain to decipher what that is that they heard. And so they're going to pick up on more frequencies of sound than we will, slightly higher than a human's optimal hearing range. So, I'm obviously tongue-tied here. I'm butchering this route. I'm doing my best to follow along with the National Deer Association here on what they're saying and such and so forth and so on. And you obviously can research this yourself. I recommend you go to the National Deer Association's YouTube channel, watch their videos on this stuff, on deer's hearing, deer's eyesight capabilities, such and so on and so forth. But in all reality, a deer is going to hear about the same as a human. A human's going to be able to pick up on the sounds of a grunt tube, and the sounds of rattling. Almost the same as a deer out there to 100 yards or more away. So let's see, my favorite go-to call-in type day would be, let's see, I like winds under 10 miles per hour when I'm calling on a regular basis using deer calls. And I prefer to do my calling in the morning hours, on the morning hunts versus the evenings. Although I really love to sleep in. Oh yeah, don't we all like to sleep in? I didn't mean to say that, but yeah, wouldn't we love to sleep in during deer season? Not so if you're a die-hard deer hunter like I am, there's no sleeping in during deer season. But one of my favorite all-time go-to great deer hunting approaches, deer hunting tactics is to really like, I've done my thorough scouting for years and just have learned my deer hunting area and just knowing where all the bedding areas are, where all the best all-time buck type bedding areas are. For the most part, for all intents and purposes, it's the thickest, nastiest, most high stem counted type areas in your hunting location. It's the thickest, nastiest area that you can bet a lot of money that there's deer hiding in the thickest parts of your hunting environment, your hunting area. And so I like to, when the conditions are right, a nice frosty type day, a nice cold day that doesn't get out of the 30s, barely 40 degrees for high, and it was frosty in the morning, and it's still fairly cold in the evening. So for the evening hunts, so I like to slip in quietly and as hopefully undetected as possible into close to these bedding areas, these bedding areas that I've scouted out, that I've known existed on my hunting property that I hunt for years, and just knowing bucks traditionally hide in these places, and so do does and such, so forth on. And I'll slip in there as close as possible without alerting any deer, and I'll do some calling. I'll do some buck tendon grunting. Buck tendon grunting is just like grunting every second. And deer calling cannot hurt your hunt at all, your deer hunt whatsoever. As long as you're blowing the call at the right volume, and as long as you're using the deer calls the right way, you're not scaring a deer, you're not hurting your hunt, you're only helping it. You're only increasing your chances, increasing the odds of being successful at shooting a good buck at this time of year, during the pre-rut and rut and post-rut, so forth, so on, just all during November, all October, November, those 2 months, you are not hurting yourself at all by using deer calls. And I want to pause here to recommend that you listen to the Southern Outdoorsman podcast. They have great guests. They have, I'm using my phone for the live streams. I wish I could get on my phone. Actually, you know what? Got the laptop right here. I'm going to bring up the Southern Outdoorsman podcast because I want, no, better yet. So, oh, what do you know? Look what popped up. Yeah, 40 years of deer calling. Nice. How many of you know who Brad Harris is? Okay, I'm gonna go off on another tangent here in a little bit. But Jason Gibson, how you doing, buddy? I want for all of those of you that have been chatting, saying hi, that are on here live with us right now. I want to congratulate Jason Gibson on getting a nice buck just the other day. Or maybe it was, did you get the buck this morning, Jason, or yesterday? I think it was in the last 24, 48 hours that Jason Gibson filled his buck tag. Congratulations. Oak Ridge Taxidermy says nice buck. Yeah, he's checking out how you doing, Oak Ridge Taxidermy? Yeah, Oak Ridge Taxidermy. I did this buck mount myself. This was a 202-pound 9-point buck I shot with my bow on Halloween Day last year. This was last year's bow buck, and I've been practicing taxidermy. You know that anyway, Oak Ridge Taxidermist, and I've been learning and practicing taxidermy for the last 3 years. So I did this shoulder mount back here of my trophy buck from last year. Dirt Nap City says, I got a big buck that has been outsmarting me. So Dirt Nap City said he's got a big buck that's been outsmarting him. Oh yeah, so Jason, you got that buck this morning. Kind of thought so because I got that email from you, Jason, not that many hours ago. I think you sent that to me shortly after you shot that buck. So Jason, we got Dirt Nap City saying he's got a buck that's been outsmarting him. But hey, just keep at it, man. I'm Dirt Nap City, I'm chasing a buck that I call Curly. I've got his sheds, it's not these, but I've got Curly's sheds from the last 2 years in a row, and I've been getting trail cam pictures of him on almost every single trail camera that I've got spread out all through the area where I'm hunting. And I've kind of narrowed down his home range. For all intents and purposes, a buck's home range and a doe's home range is an adult doe and an adult mature, 3-year-old buck and older, and a 3-year-old doe and older. For all intents and purposes, their home ranges are rarely over 1 square mile, 1.5 square mile area. And obviously, this time of year, that Curly could have extended his home range slightly a little bit. He's got there. The deer aren't going to stray far from the comforts of their core area, the comforts of their home. Obviously, for obvious reasons. It's just obvious. We don't stray far from our comfort zone, right? From the comforts of our home. We want to go home, return to home at the end of the day. Why wouldn't deer be any different? But obviously, if that strong estrus scent is in the air, if there's a doe not far from Curly's home range, this big mature buck I'm chasing, and likewise for you in Dirt Nap City, this buck that's been outsmarting you, why he's probably in the area where you're hunting is I imagine you have some does that are starting to smell right. They're getting close to estrus. What's bringing him in, bringing the bucks. And a lot of times you get that one tangent. That's what live stream's all about, right? Going off on tangent. So I'm going off on another tangent here. So you could have that one hot doe. It's near estrus, just drawing in all the bucks. And the majority of the bucks in the area could be honed in on her, be around her. You could have adolescent, younger, satellite type bucks laying down scrapes and rubbing trees and bedding nearby, close by where that doe is bedding, and where she might have a mature older buck that's chasing off the subordinate younger satellite type bucks, and he's probably tending her and staying with her, bedding with her, following her every move for the next 2 to 3 or 4 days, in hopes to mate with her. And that mature buck will mount her, breed her for multiple times in a 3-4 day time span. And once he has done his deed with her, he's done with her, she's done with him, he'll move on. And believe it or not, one of those subordinate younger bucks could very well sneak in if she's still somewhat in estrus, if she's still able to stand to be mounted. Other bucks could come and breed her, mate with her. And believe it or not, I didn't know if you knew this or not, this is a cool fact about white-tailed does. That big mature 4 or 5-year-old buck that might have been, mounting her for a couple days straight while she was in estrus, he very well might not be the father of her fawns. It might not be him that really officially impregnates her. It could be the second buck after him, or the third or fourth buck even, as long as she's still in estrus, still able to be bred, still be mounted. It could be one of 3 or 4 or 5 bucks, any one of them. It could be the 5th in line that ends up being the one that actually officially impregnates that doe. Didn't know if you knew that cool fact about does. So if you're an old big bruiser buck and you can't stand and you're chasing off, fighting off, running off the subordinate younger 1 and 2-year-old bucks, and you're staying with this doe that's in estrus for 3 or 4 days tops, you're doing that for good reason. If you're the big hoss buck, it's because you want to be sure that you're the father of her fawns. That when she's pregnant, you want her to become pregnant by you. So that's just nature's way to ensure that probably the older mature bucks will pass on their genetics to that doe. But if he leaves too early, that big boss buck leaves early, ooh boy, younger satellite buck sneak on in there and mount her too, and it could end up being him that ends up passing his genetics on to her fawns. So see, Jason says, Dirt Nap City, I've been there before. The bigger and older they get that way for a reason. And that's right, they do. And Curly, who I've been chasing, I took my Onyx app and just based on the trail cameras I got from the outskirts, I have all my trail cameras off of like dirt roads, off of trails, near by human disturbance areas where I'm already disturbing with four-wheeler truck or where I'm already walking. I don't have my trail cameras in deep into where Curly would really be bedding and spending the majority of his daytime hours. But I've got pictures of him on all those outskirt trail cameras. And they've been like evening pics, like pictures at 3:30 or 5 something p.m. They've been 10 to a noontime pics, like middle of the day pics of Curly grazing, feeding on his feet. And so I know that he's been bedding somewhere nearby. There's a swampy, wet, real thick swamp type bedding area that he uses where I found his sheds last year. Last year's sheds from Curly I found in the swamp bed area, and it was last winter that I was able to go in there to scout that out, see why he favors this particular spot. And there was water right there where I seen his bed, his old beds where he laid. He had water right there. He actually could just reach over with his head and drink. He was bedding right by water, and his shed antlers were right there. And I had to almost get on my hands and knees to crawl up in there in this stuff. It's real thick, and it's also, this is key to finding good buck bedding habitat, buck areas. This was the lowest elevation point in this area too, this swamp area. And then the other bedding area that I know of is an old old clear cut that's grown up. That's like it's like probably close to 5-year-old cut. But in this cut, there was sections that were untouched because they were cedar swamps. There's like swampy, like there's little island or pockets of like wetland, cedar swamp type stuff with real tall, thick grassy and like broadleaf, like forby type herbaceous vegetation and such, so forth. So on there's cedar trees, and there's also the and other species of trees, such so forth. And that these particular spots weren't touched by the fellow buncher and the skidder. The logging operation never disturbed these particular areas, these spots in this 5-year-old cut. They were left untouched, and they're obviously bedding areas for deer, and they're also the lowest points anywhere around there for hundreds of yards or for 1 square mile radius area. And what I'm getting at here is the low points, the lowest type points in your hunting area are a lot of times they're thermal hubs. They're known as thermal hub type areas where all the thermals dump all the surrounding scents and odors around that deer's environment, right? Dumps into that spot, one location. So that's why these become great bedding areas for deer, because for obvious reasons, if the thermals are pulling all surrounding odor their way, they're going to be able to smell approaching danger or threat long before you get near them, or long before a coyote gets near them, or a bobcat, or any type of threat for that matter. So, and the best thermal hubs that a hunter could hone in on to like choose for a stand set or a blind set, or if you're looking for a great spot to hunt, to go and to do your calling, do some deer calling, deer grunting and bleating, and as the title states on this live stream, calling is going to pull them right into your lap. Using deer calls cannot hurt your hunt. It can only increase your chances. It can only double, quadruple, triple your chances, the odds of you harvesting a nice buck this time of year. You always do not be afraid of the deer calls. Put faith in them. Put a lot of trust in them. It's not scaring the deer away. In any way, shape, or form. I'm going to upload more episodes of my Spike Skills YouTube channel that is going to show real time deer reacting to me calling. I'm calling to them, and I'm showing a video their reaction to me calling, and they're just wagging their tail and going back to grazing. I've got many examples of this that I've captured on video myself, but there's also other YouTube channels that you can go watch. The Southern Outdoorsman YouTube channel, the Deer and Deer Hunting YouTube channel, the National Deer Association YouTube channel, and you can watch videos from them and listen to podcasts by them and so forth, where they're showing and telling that deer calling can't hurt, it can only help and increase your odds and chances. If obviously the deer calling is done right, if it sounds realistic, as long as the sound just like deer, why would it scare deer away? Why would it hurt your chances? It can only increase your chances. So thermal hubs that you want to hone in on, focus on as a deer hunter this time of year are multiple ridges, high points, dropping into a low, towards lower elevation at like a stream crossing. You might have a bubbling brook or stream, a really small, tiny little river coming through a valley, the lowest elevation part of your hunting area. And maybe you want to go and hunt where multiple ridges from higher ground, flat plateau, from like saddles and bench type areas, or from flat or higher ground, all dump into this like crossing over the stream. Denise! Oh, we got a smoke alarm going off, guys. Now everyone thinks my house is burning down. Holy crud. Okay, everybody, I gotta run. The house is on fire. My wife's trying to cook homemade bagels. I think she burnt them all. All right. So Jason Gibson says, I have heard handheld calls that I prefer to use, but I also use electronic calls from the the app on your phone. Yeah, a lot of guys, if it's a still frosty cold day. Also, I don't know if any of you know this or not, but I'm straying here now from my point of thought. First, the smoke alarm went off and it made me lose my train of thought. What I was talking about, the thermal hub and I'm going to get back to that here. Just a sec, hold on. But because of Jason, what he said, he's talking about electronic. Oh, the app, yeah. Actually, one of my 3 bosses I have at work, I do like 3-4 different jobs with my employment or for my employer. But one of my bosses or supervisors at work, he sat on one of my stands in my hunting area, my muddy stand, 2-seater tripod type stand. It's not a tree stand. It's got 4 legs. It's a metal elevated, like 12-foot high platform with 2 swivel seats with a railing all around, and you can put a blind on it. It's that muddy quad 2-person tripod stand. He sat on that one time and used the app on his phone, probably like similar to what Jason Gibson uses sometimes. And he used some doe bleating and grunting. He ran the calls off his app. And he called in a little button buck. He said it came right under that little tripod, muddy quad tripod stand. And he thought that was neat. So, and I've called in turkey using turkey calls on a turkey app on the phone. And I've never used the deer calls off my phone, off an app on the phone, because I've found some manufactured type mouth blown calls that I favor, that I've had so much calling success with throughout the years. And I've found, really, in all reality, any type of manufactured type deer call that you can buy will call in deer, will work if used correctly. If you follow the instructions for that call, it will work for you. It will call in deer. So, but back to what I was saying. Oh, Keith Lilly says, has anyone tried rattling this week yet? Wondering if they're coming to that at this point. Keith Lilly, do you know, what's his name? The Pursuit. Do you know the Pursuit Hunt on YouTube with what's his name? He's a great kid. He reminds me of myself when I was young, starting out with YouTube and stuff. But his YouTube channel is blowing up. He has like over 10,000, 12,000 subscribers, or 10,000 because of his short uploads. He's got some shorts that went viral when it got like several million views, and he's got a lot of subscribers from his shorts. His mainstream videos don't get that many views, but his shorts do. They blow up, and he's got a lot of subscribers. So the Pursuit Pursuit Hunt YouTube channel with here, hold on. Anyway, he oh, what's his name? Or Jake Haskell. There we go. Yeah, everyone on here should know who Jake Haskell is. I'm sure you've seen some of his videos or his shorts. Jake Haskell just harvested a really nice. It was actually opening day. This is to answer Keith Lilly's question about rattling. If anyone's had any luck rattling a deer, Jake Haskell's buck. They got an opening day. Today's what, the 10th? So 9 days ago, he rattled in a nice 8-pointer, like a 3-year-old 8-pointer out of his swamp bed. The buck was, but it was real. Everyone knows that opening day. Well, if everyone that's from Maine that's joined us on this live stream here. So first, I want to thank everybody for joining us live. Please start chatting away. Let us all know if you've shot a deer already and what you've used for tactics and stuff, and let us know a little bit about your hunt, your success with deer hunting and stuff. But Jake Haskell, he rattled. It was very, very windy. Opening day wasn't good calling conditions, using grunts and bleats and stuff, and using mouth blown type manufactured calls. But rattling is one loud. That can pierce through highest winds sometimes, a lot of times. Jake Haskell did that, according to his story anyway, on Facebook. And that buck eventually come right in, gave him a nice, easy shot. He rattled that buck in. So rattling can work right now. How many of you have ever rattled in a doe? Oh my word. I do rattle occasionally. No, it's not my go-to calling tactic. I put so much faith and have had so much success at grunting, doing buck tendon grunting, and like then mixing like some estrus doe bleating, and then going right back to buck tendon grunting, and then maybe do a little frustrated type buck grunt, what a lot of people call a buck bawl. I'll throw in a couple of them in there and mix in with the buck tendon grunt, and then I might stop the tendon grunt and then do a couple more bleats, doe bleats, and to sound like a doe near estrus or doe that's in estrus that a buck is chasing and tending. And I'll go side to side. I'll start over here grunting, grunt every second, do the buck tendon grunt, and I'll work my way around the tree. If I'm in a tree stand or on the ground, don't matter. And then I'll go back, make it sound like the buck is walking, like. So you want the calls to sound realistic, obviously, and you want to sound like real deer. And I'll do that. I'll go from side to side and then go back with my calling. I'll cut my hand over the end of the call to direct the call to make the call sound louder. I'll cut my hands over it to magnify the sound and also direct the sound in a certain direction. I'll go back and forth. I'll do that. And so I've had a lot of success doing that. But how many of you, I have a question for all of you that are on here, listen, we're talking deer calling and getting those deer to come into your lap. You can make, this is one hunting tactic that a hunter can do to make a deer come right to them, within several feet of them, or be right under your tree stand platform. And I've been on the ground hunting and have had deer come to almost petting distance of me calling. And I said earlier in my live stream that I got an A plus, maybe, or an A anyway, on a biology project I did about calling deer vocalizations, the different types of vocalizations of deer, and my project was on me physically calling in deer and documenting it with my friend, taking the photos and little videos of me calling deer, and I've had deer come in calling back, just like turkey would come in call, or elk would come through. Like if you're on elk hunts, or with moose hunting too, moose will come in grunting. If you've called moose in, or called elk in, or called turkey, they all come in vocalizing back. A lot of folks don't know that deer can do the same thing. They'll do the same exact thing and call back. If everything's all just hunky-dory, if they're not smelling you, if you're not alerting them in any way, shape, or form, if they're not nervous, on pins and needles, they very well could come in grunting back at you, trying to maybe get you to call again, call back. They're trying to hone in on your exact whereabouts, right where you are. They're looking for that doe. If you were doing doe estrus bleeding, they're looking for it. If you were buck tending ground, they're looking for that buck. Maybe that big buck he's coming to kick that, whoop that buck's butt, chase him off, because he's, so he doesn't take over the doe that the big boy's tendon and stuff. So yeah, and I went off on another tangent. Any more questions, everybody? I got tongue-tied. I just lost my train of thought. But, yeah, so let's get that buck to come to you by using deer calls. Do not be afraid of them at all. So with the next episode that I upload, not a live stream, not a shorts, but my next mainstream actual upload episode on my YouTube channel is going to be like really just how calling can't hurt your hunt. Calling can only help. Obviously, this isn't going to be the title of the video. I'm brainstorming ideas of how to produce a video. I've got all the videos, though. I got all the B-roll shots and all the video clips and video files I need to put this video together. But I really want to illustrate through actual real live video footage that I got, and by me explaining and telling you that deer calling can't hurt your hunt. I can't stress that enough. 99.99% of all the freaking deer I've ever shot. I've shot like I'm 40 something years old. I've shot over 30 deer in my 40 some odd years of life. And I've called them all freaking in. Look how freaking passionate I am about it, everybody. Use your deer calls. Man, I can't believe how many freaking deer hunters out there don't use deer calls. You're only hurting yourself. If you're going without filling a deer tag, pity you for not using deer calls. Man, oh. There's this girl I know that Megan, she's accesses through my hunting area. It's kind of to go to other land. She drives the dirt road, go in, chat through comment. J Max says can't chat through comments. No, Keith Lilly says I believe 100% you need to play the wind, reduce scent bonus. Yeah, and so to go on with what Keith Lilly's saying, everybody, about playing the wind. Yeah, when calling actually, hold on, it's Brad Harris. Everyone know Brad Harris, the inventor of the deer call. Brad Harris, over 40 years of deer call. Brad Harris, he like manufactured the first ever commercial type deer call. He likes to call it fishing for deer. Your call is the line, is the fishing line. You're casting out there to that deer. And you gotta imagine that deer's coming. You've got that deer coming while you're calling, and all of a sudden you stop, you pause, and that deer's gonna stop because they don't hear it no more in there. And they're like, well, what the? They still very well can come in. If they're far enough away, they may veer off course and not come in if you stop calling long enough. But if you call at least every 10 to 15 minutes, or at least every 10 minutes, do a call in sequence, that's a good, or even 5, I even recommend calling every 5 minutes, doing different call in sequence every 5 minutes. That calling is the fishing line, that's reeling that deer in. And it makes sense that if you pause your call and you stop long enough, that deer's going to keep stopping and listening and looking, putting the nose up, trying to hone in on that deer that you're pretending to be. They're looking for you because you're pretending to be a deer. You're calling. If they're close enough and you hear them coming and you can see them, then stop and call in not calling sometimes can be a good bet, because they might close the distance another 20, 30 yards, give you, or they might enter a shooting lane for you, give you that shot. But let's say they veer off course because you stop calling, they stopped hearing you, and they stop unless they don't see you, hear you anymore. They might veer off. And a lot of times too, you haven't stopped your calling, why they may have veered off. They might be trying to circle downwind of the area where they've been hearing the calling from. So, but if you keep calling, I recommend you do this. If you don't want that deer to get downwind of you, to catch your wind, to blow out of there so you don't spook the deer, turn your calling away from the deer, cup your hand over the end of the tube of the call. The deer could be out there 50, 60 yards. You need to close the distance a little more. Oh my word. This buck over here, that big boy over there, that big buck I got on the wall over there, shot with my bow. Actually, almost every single deer on the wall here I shot with my bow and arrow. This was a bow buck, that was a bow buck, that was a bow buck. Bow deer, shot a bear, all the bear in here, shot with my bow too. But I'm mostly successful with a bow. I haven't shot that many deer with a gun. I've shot most of the deer with a bow. And I have shot them all, having using deer calls. So, but that, oh yeah, that buck right there on the wall, shot my bow. To get him to close the distance, to come in, to give me that 20-yard, it was actually only like a 12-yard shot with my bow. He had already come to my calling initially. I had been calling periodically every 10 to 15 minutes, and I heard him coming. And he hit his scrapes that were nearby me. And he hit the licking branch scrapes. I was watching him through peripheral vision, watch him scrape, watch him hit licking branch. But he was still far away, 60 or more yards away, not in bow range. And I had to take my deer call, angle it away from him, and cut my hands over it to sound like the deer was fairly far away, sound like the buck was going away from him, and grunt, and I coaxed him in closer. Even though I could see him and hear him and know that he was there, I didn't stop calling. I used calling to be that fishing line, to keep reeling him in. Couldn't let him have any slack. Because if I did, he would have jumped and spit the hook, and he would have been gone, been out of there, and I wouldn't have gotten my shot. So calling is your lure, is your fishing pole, your fishing line. The calling is that fishing line pulling, keeping that tension on that deer, a doe or buck, whatever it is you're calling, trying to call in to get. And you can't let that tension go for too long. Everyone pauses, I'll pause my calling, but I'll call regularly. Every 5 or 10 minutes, I'll do more calling. Or it's very helpful to see the deer out there, to read their body language, and to see, and when they put their head down and go behind some trees, and you could call some more, and keep their interest, and make them keep coming and closing the distance. And there's actually sometimes when I've gotten the deer in within 100 yards or under 100 yards, and they've lost interest in the call, and all of a sudden, but they weren't scared of it. They were hearing me still. They were wagging their tail, grazing. They were looking every time I'd call, but they weren't interested in it. And so a lot of times either they're not coming at all, or I haven't actually had too many deer do this exactly, but a couple times that I have seen deer do that, and I've actually been successful at doing this with turkey hunting as well. When a gobbler hangs up, it isn't closing distance, you're still trying to coax them in, doing a little bit of yelping and purring, doing some light calling, and in a sense with deer hunting, you're doing that with the deer, trying to coax them in by angling your call away, doing some more grunting, trying to get the deer to close distance. I've done the same thing with turkey that I have with deer, same thing with deer that I have with turkey. I wait for them to get out of sight. I'll wait for them to go a little further away, a little out of sight, to where and I might switch the call up. Instead of doing the buck grunting I was doing, I might estrus bleat, do some doe calls, or I'll just call again in general. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But and all of a sudden here they come. I've had turkey do the same thing after I've shut right up and just let the tom go out of sight, half strut, and boom, do his thing, do what toms do, and go around the corner, around the bend, get out of sight. I'd hit him again with a different call, different like a slate call or a box call, a different type of call, and and then I've had them turn right around and come right in and for a shot, been able to get. So you've got to put a lot of faith and trust in your calling and in calls in general. That they deer calling, turkey calling, whatever, just all the calling is a great, great tactic to use with deer hunting and turkey hunting and stuff. So Kelsey says nice and size to it. Any size. Let's see. Jason says Southern Game Outdoors. I just finished smoke when I shot mine this morning and walked into about 15 yards. I have the best response calling when I hear a deer moving through. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. If you, I blind call all the time. I call off. If you buck tendon grunting is the one call that you all should do periodically, often. This time of year, what are bucks doing? They're like they're grunting sometimes for what you think is for no reason at all, but they're just sometimes they're even standing there and just grunt, and they'll walk and grunt some more. They might scrape the ground, do a little shadow scrape. They might find a licking branch, a community licking branch that they'll sniff and hit and lick, and they'll grunt a couple times and move on. Their bucks are cruising their home ranges. They're side winding it. They're cruising like ridges and saddles, benches. They're cruising the downwind sides of doe bedding areas. These bucks are, and the bucks, mature older bucks, are even bedding. They're laying down bedding on downwind sides of areas that does frequent and doe bedding areas. A buck will, and a lot of times too, your older buck sometimes will bed where they have a vantage point where they can see a long distance, so they can see, watch does, and so that they can smell them as well. And the mature, all about like your young adolescent teenager type bucks, if you were going to chase them does around, these does, they're silly. Most of the does aren't even near estrus or even beginning to be near estrus, and that's why those younger bucks get shot first all the time. They're out there chasing does, bumping does. But those older, bigger, mature bucks are hanging back and they're waiting for the moment to be right. And these does that have lived year to year, that are 2 years or older, they're coming in estrus at the same time every year. Whatever whatever day, time frame they came in estrus previous year, they're going to come in estrus at the same time frame this year, and so on and so forth. As long as that doe keeps living, she's going to come in estrus, cycle in estrus at the same time. So, and you want to keep data of all this, trail cam data, and keep journals and notes of this, of all the times in your hunting areas where does come in estrus, where you've seen a buck chasing a doe and following a doe that removed, bedding with a doe, and breeding a doe. You want to keep tabs on that, keep year-to-year data of this, because you want to pick your hunting dates accordingly. You could make your game plan for your hunt, each year's hunt, based on previous year's data of when does come in heat, estrus, such so on, and based on data of when like certain parts of your hunting area get hot with a lot of buck activity. Your cameras are like start blowing up with multiple different bucks from bordering properties all of a sudden right around in a couple day window, and it's going to interest you to know. And then if you didn't know this, but you start going back in your photo and video libraries of your cellular trail cameras, of all your trail camera pictures and videos that you've gotten, if you go back the last several years and look at the dates, the months and dates stuff, and the temps and such so forth. Well, the rut's going to occur no matter what the weather. Today it was dry and pouring rain and windy. If there was a doe in heat and estrus, she had bucks around her. She was being bred. That breeding was going on no matter the weather, no matter temperature, climate, weather, no matter the weather. It's going to happen. So you've got to check that. It will floor you, man. It's going to be an eye opener to you to see that. I don't know how many of you know this or knew this, that you can go back, way, way back with your trail camera data from years prior and paint a nice, pretty little picture for yourself for your upcoming future, for your planning, your hunt plans for the future. For me in this area where I hunt, it's always like the 28th of October, right close up to Halloween. There's one, I have a rut stand, a stand set up where I shot this guy, this 202-pound 9-point on my bow Halloween day. He come in, I heard his grunts. Then I saw a couple does run, and him right after them. He was chasing a couple does and grunting his head off and chasing the does on Halloween day. One of those does must have been close to estrus. She must have had a lot of scent that was broadcasting. He must have been, I mean, that's a 3-year-old buck. So he's not a young one. One of them does had to have been starting to smell close to estrus because he was grunting and chasing them and right on their asses, man. He was, so that, and those, I believe those does still be alive. So you could bet your buttons I was on the stand on Halloween day. But the weather has been sucky. But I have filled my 2 doe tags that I had the DMAP, Deer Density Map Survey Special Doe Tag, sent via Game Warden. The Game Warden sent that tag to me. It's the first year that Maine's doing the Density Map Survey study thing, where like certain surplus of doe, extra doe tags, permits are given out in certain areas of Maine where the deer density is the highest. And then it's being the first year, they're gonna have to do this probably for many more years to come, so they can get the charts and graphs and the reporting that they need to, and the analytical statistics to see if it's helping any, see if the deer density is dropping and getting more closer to that threshold, the carrying capacity threshold. And the carrying capacity should always be, of all game species, should always be right around threshold, not way above. A little below is even better in some cases. But so that I filled that deer density map survey doe tag, and I filled my regular doe tag. I drew a tag for my zone. I filled that tag, so I got my 2 does, got one with a bow, one with a gun, and I'm still after chasing my buck, my target buck. I've got the rest of the season ahead of me to just focus on trying to get a good buck. He's not the only. There's at least 3 bucks that I'd like to have in my sights. So, but so the Halloween till like the 13th, to like this coming Saturday, has been like a great. Has been like when the majority of the does in my hunting area come into estrus, cycling estrus. I don't know if any of you know this. Have any of you ever heard of the secret rut? Bill Winke. If you ever heard of him, watch his YouTube videos, so forth. He talks about it and has some videos out there about this, the secret rut, the hidden rut. That in like middle of October, there's like a certain percentage, maybe 20 to 25% of your doe population in your hunting area may already have been bred come November. There's still a certain surplus, a certain number of does that will come in estrus and heat early, way earlier than November, middle. And I've seen this time and time again with my trail camera data. Right around middle 13th to 15th of October, all of a sudden the bucks, there's just bucks are all over the place on my cameras. They're just coming, going here. And then their noses are on the, if I play back, turn all my pics to 10-second videos, I can see that they're cruising and their nose right to the ground. And in the middle of October, why do you think that is? Because there's a doe smelling, right? There's a doe near estrus or in estrus, and those bucks are honing in on her. So there's some breeding going on in October. Not that huge amount, not maybe only 20 to 25%. And the National Deer Association and Dr. Grant Woods can back this up from all the scientific studies and biological studies and so on and so forth. So it's just science. It's just general. general knowledge, science knowledge, general. It's biology, man. It's just a fact based on biology and science that the mating window for deer, white-tailed deer, is like middle of October to middle of November, and then you have your younger does that become sexually mature later in the winter, come Decemberish time frame. You got your female fawns become sexually mature. They can mate and be mounted by bucks in like mid-December, late December, known as the post-rut. So there's that going on too. That happens. But your buck fawns, your male fawns, they're not sexually mature yet, not till they're 1.5. The tramps, man. them female fawns, man, they're tramps. They're geez, they start young, don't they? I could go off on a tangent on that. Yeah, let's not get in the gutter about that one. But so yeah, I didn't know if any of you knew that. But yeah, your female fawns, they're sexually mature the first year before they're even 1 year old. But your bucks, they can't breed. They're not sexually mature until 1.5 years old. But anyway, okay, so let's see what are people chatting here saying. Right on, good to have the meat. Says yeah. Oakwood Tiger says, do you read the chat? Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I do. Kyle says 14-point Halloween evening this year. 240 pounds, first daylight movement of the year. Congratulations, Kyle. Yeah, Kyle, what does it say? Salter. Got a nice 14-point buck on Halloween evening. Halloween, traditionally, speaking of, this is just science-based, based on science, and it has to do with the shortening of daylight. That is always, every year, the last week of October through the 1st to 2nd week of November, that's when the breeding's going to heat up. When it's going to peak, it's going to start slow, start getting hotter, and start peaking. And it's pretty much peaking, starting to peak. It's right on the rise of peak right about now, the breeding. And Dr. Grant Woods just posted his most latest. It's Growing Deer TV. I'm sure all of you have seen this YouTube channel, Growing Deer TV, and the host is Dr. Grant Woods. His latest video was about this, how a lot of hunters get this wrong, and actually what some hunters do wrong, based according to him, is they're using their same hunting approach, same hunting tactics that they did in early season and the pre-rut during the rut, and then not being successful. You gotta figure this time right now, it's all about the girls, the does. The bucks have let scrapes go cold. They're not scraping. They might not even be rubbing trees much anymore. If they're on the does, they're finding the does that are close to estrus. They're chasing them, following their every move. They're bedding with them. They're staying with them for days in hopes to be the first to mount them, mate with them. And any doe in estrus that scent is so strong. These bucks, man, can smell that scent long ways, a mile or more away. If the conditions are right, if the wind is carrying that scent, if it's in hilly type open terrain, that scent is carrying a long ways, a mile or more away. And these bucks are smelling that, and it's drawing them in. And so there's a lot that's going on right now. It's peaking right about now. And so every year, if you want to have your buckcation planned ahead in advance, you want to put in your time. If you're a week off for hunting, I suggest you choose like the last week of October or first week of November or both. I'm hoping next year to be able to take the last week of October. I took the last week of October off last year in the shed. That's how I got this buck with my bow on Halloween Day. It's at the end my buckcation. And I'd like to do 2 weeks, the last week of October and the first week of November next year. But I have another moose hunt I got to go on next year, so I might only be able to do the last week of October. So let's see, Kyle. So congratulations, Kyle, if you're still on here. I'm getting that awesome buck on Halloween night. Let's see, Killfilly says, wow, good one. You in Maine, Kyle. Yeah, did you see that, Kyle? Keith asked, did you get that buck in Maine? So 240 pounds. Yeah, Kyle was at a Maine buck. Let's see, did he answer? Can we see the deer mount up close? Oh, you want to see the deer mount up close. Oh, hold on. Oak Ridge Taxidermist wants to, all right. Oh, geez. Oh, I just hit Boo Boo the Bear. So this is my first ever mount, shoulder mount I ever did. This was a New Brunswick black bear shot with a bow in New Brunswick, Maine. Oh, here I've got a snowshoe hare jumping over fake snow. Here's a crotchety rotch. Here's a little buck I shot with my bow. A little bow buck up there. There's a bobcat over there, everybody. Oh, here. Hold on. So there's a big bobcat I shot behind my house. Here, let's do this. You want to see the detail? So this is last year's. The lighting might not be good. You can, in good light, you can see there's good detail in his cheeks. I've got the creasing where he's bending his neck, showing the creasing from the sharp turn. He's got the American flag in the back. It's a pedestal style mount. Got the American flag back there with a little rope. He can be on a pedestal style type mount. I can have this mount, or I could have him rubbing a tree. So I can, why I chose this mannequin, this style mannequin for mounting him, is I can set up a fake tree, put him on a pedestal type mount in the back, and have him rubbing a tree, have him looking like he's rubbing a tree. I can do that with that type of mannequin, that style mount, so that's cool. And then we've got over here, that's my first buck mount I ever did right here in the front. There's a big bow buck I got. A doe. I shot all of them with my bow. I've got another deer I shot with my bow on the desk over here. 4-pointer, some more coyote, bear skull. I have more, some other deer, bow buck. That was a rifle buck. I shot this one with my bow. This is an 8-pointer I shot with my bow. I've got more down in the freezer. I don't have all the buck mounts up here. I've got that 8-pointer, that 7-pointer. I have at least 2 other buck capes in the freezer I've got to do mounts for to put on my wall. My son's first deer I got to mount. I have a couple more black bear. I've got to do my trophy black bear I shot a couple years ago. I've got to mount and get on the wall. Let's see, Kyle. Oh, so Kyle shot it in, is that Minnesota? What's MN, everybody? Is that Minnesota? Can we see the deer mount up close? Did you see that, Oak Ridge Taxidermist? The mount up close. I was trying to show you that. And everybody, Kyle shot that big 240-pound 14-pointer. And let's see, I think it's Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota has some good deer hunting. Cool. Congratulations, Kyle. So, let's see who else on here. Right on, good to have the meat, yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to bring up, oh gosh, let's see here. Find my email. So who else? I'm taking this moment to answer questions or read the chat. So what's going on, see what people are writing. Oak Ridge taxidermist wanted to see my mounts up close. I just got done showing that. Okay, let's go to email. Hold on, everybody. So if we click on here and go, oh, that's not the one I wanted. Here we go. All right, everybody. So, let's open her up. Look at this, everybody. Here. Look at this nice little buck. So Jason Gibson filled a buck tag today. Yeah. Oh, nice. I like spike bucks, man. They're good eating. So, this is the reason for the name of my YouTube channel, Spikes and Gills. This is the beginning part of the title of my YouTube channel, Spikes. And obviously Gills implies fishing. Yeah, Jason Gibson with his. So me and Jason Gibson go way back. We've worked together before. He's a cool guy. We're supposed to get together, do some hunts together and some fishing together soon. So, yeah, that's a beautiful spike buck, Jason. Congratulations, buddy. It's a nice deer. So everyone, it's very imperative that you hunt the way that makes you happy. Shoot what makes. Obviously, in the moment, if that didn't make, look, that's a happy camper right there. Look at that smile. That's priceless. Congratulations, Jason. I'm happy for it. I've shot many a spike. Well, I got a little spike buck up. Look at that little spike that I shot. Well, what's interesting about this little guy, everybody, is my wife was pregnant. She was on bed rest. I didn't have much time to hunt that year. My son was about to be born, and she had to be on bed rest. And I got this buck the second to the last day. The very next day was going to be the last Saturday of the rifle season. I got that deer on the second to the last day of the season. I was tickled. I was so happy. That hunt used to be on my YouTube channel, but I took it down. And then I've got, oh gosh, there's some young. My first deer is over. Anyways, so you guys got to shoot what makes you feel, what makes you happy. Really, like if a deer is coming in, if you have a legal tag for whatever deer it is that's coming into your set, where you've been sitting maybe all day, maybe you've been putting in the time. There's nothing wrong with filling those deer tags. It's all part of us hunters being wildlife conservationists. Filling those tags it's helping the carrying capacity. We're doing our part to ensure that the carrying capacity of those white-tailed deer aren't exceeding threshold and aren't in their densities, their population isn't growing so immensely to the point where there's starvation going on, where there's diseases spreading among the population of deer, and then maybe, heaven forbid, eventually those diseases hurting humans in some way, and that way there aren't any pest problems with the deer, a lot of human and deer interactions, and deer and car collisions and such, so on and so forth. It's very imperative that we do fill deer tags every year. That's why there is hunting exists. Hunting is providing, obviously, extremely. Oh my word! I could go off on another tangent about this, especially with knowing what I know from Dr. Grant Woods from Growing Deer TV. The host of that is Dr. Grant Woods. He's a scientist, biologist. Just what I learned from him about deer meat. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic on another live stream and another video upload on my YouTube channel. But just it's imperative that we provide that healthy meat for our family, that we fill our deer tags, do our part as wildlife conservationists. Yeah, so yeah, just shoot what makes you feel happy at the moment. be honest, really, I mean, I'm really, what's making me happy right now is that I filled the 2 doe tags I had. I have another doe tag for expanded archery if I want to fill that later. But so I've got meat in the freezer, so that I have really no reason to shoot a small buck, a young buck. And I have plenty of hunting time left ahead. So what's making me happy is being able to just get out there and just knowing that I have a chance of being able to shoot a mature buck, something like of this caliber, hopefully again this year. But if it comes down to it, it's the last week. So, I mean, what could make me happy then is being able to fill that other tag, do my part of filling the deer tag to help with the balance of that carrying capacity, to help keep the deer population at threshold or slightly below, so that all those problems that can exist don't happen. So see, Hubbard Tilly says, I shot a 205-pound 9-pointer yesterday. Scored 140th. Congratulations, Hubbard. Was that a Maine buck? Hubbard Tilgy. Hubbard shot a 205-pound 9-pointer. This was 202 pounds. This is a 9-point buck right here. I shot him with my bow last Halloween. Was that a Maine buck, Hubbard? Jason Gibson says, congrats. Nice one. So did you see that shout out I gave to you, Jason? I hope you don't mind, Jason. I showed your picture of your buck and that priceless smile of yours. He was a really cool little spike. I love spike bucks. Hence the name of my YouTube channel, Spikes, man. Hell, spike bulls, spike bucks, spike caribou, spike pronghorn, antelope, spike out, man. Spikes, man. There's nothing wrong with shooting spike horns. No, Hubbard says no, never seen him before. Oh, no, I wasn't asking you, Hubbard, if you've ever seen Jason. No, sorry about, no, Hubbard Tilgy, I was asking, did you shoot that nice buck in Maine? That 205-pound 9-pointer. Did you get that in Maine? And let's see, where is he, Keith? No, where is he? I want to know, how did he get, oh, Kyle, if you're still with us, Kyle, I hope you are. There's a lot of people have dropped off. It was like 30 plus people at one point there. It's late though, it's how my work's past my bedtime. I gotta get up early to get out to the blueberry fields. We're spraying the curb. Spraying curb is a herbicide. Spraying that on the blueberry fields, so I gotta get out there. Get up early. So how did you, Kyle, get that 4-point? What did you use for tactics to shoot that 240-pound 14-pointer buck? Were you using deer calls? What was your setup, your stand setup? Were you on a ridge, a plateau, a bench, watching a saddle? Were you watching a river crossing? Were you on a field edge or in a field? Were you in a swamp, on a swamp edge? Were you hunting over like a thermal hub where like a lot of drainages and ravines and points come together and drop into like a stream crossing to a low point called like a thermal hub? Were you like hunting in a spot like that, watching multiple trails, deer trails? Like, what was your tactic and your approach? I don't know if Kyle's still with us, everybody. So it was a 240-pound 14-pointer. I'd like to know how he went about getting that deer. So Hubbard Tilgy, I think you're still with us, buddy. How did you go about shooting your 205-pound 9-pointer yesterday? It scored 143. Not weighed. Oh, wow. That's a trophy. If it was a 143-inch 9-pointer, that's a big rack. What did you use for tactics and approach to shoot such a magnificent buck? And also, too, if you want, Jason Gibson already did that. I just got done doing show and tell with Jason's buck, showing that nice, beautiful little buck he shot yesterday, showing his priceless smile with his little buck that he got. If you guys want me to give you a shout out in the live streams ahead, showing your successes, showing your trophy bucks, and you can, and if you want me to tell your story, share your hunting stories, so you can email me at wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. And email me those pictures and a little short story about how you went about harvesting that big buck. It's wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. WILDMAINEOUTDOORS@gmail. Yeah, wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. Wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. Yeah, email me your pics and stories, so on and so forth. So let's see what else. No, never seen. I don't know if Hubbert's still with us, Jason, or not. I was wanting to. I'm hoping Hubbard would send me pics of that buck and tell me a little bit about his story, about how he got that buck. So I'd like to share that next Monday night. Congratulations, Kyle. Yeah, Keith, let's see. Who else is with us? I'm actually surprised the boys that were on the moose hunt, everybody, from last couple weeks, is these guys that have been faithful, been coming, joining us live every Monday night for several Mondays. They went on some moose hunt, so they weren't able to make the live stream last couple Mondays. I missed last Monday night because I was editing the most recent video episode upload on my YouTube channel. I was editing that last Monday night, the moose hunt episode that I just uploaded on my channel, and it completely skipped my mind going live, doing the live stream last Monday night. So, but next Monday night, I hope he'll share some other success stories from other people and show some pics of bucks that they shot. You want to share those stories and pictures with me at wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. Send the pics and the stories, and we'll discuss your success stories together. And I'll obviously talk about some other facts about whitetails next Monday night, and I'll go over some other tactics and stuff that I favor, that I've used through the years with great success in harvesting deer, stuff with bow in or gun, don't matter. Yeah, so holy cow, this has been a long live stream, Jason. One of my longest yet, long-winded live stream. And I'm way past my bedtime. I've got to get up early. But for some reason, my family they're not in bed either yet. I hope they don't keep me awake too much longer. That'd be great if people shared pics of their bucks for some shout-outs. Yes, it would be, Jason. I hope they do. You did, Jason, did you already say? Oh, yeah, yes, sir, with thumbs up. I think that was in response to me showing yours, sharing your. Yeah, so everybody, Jason Gibson, he already sent his pics over and shared his story about his hunt. I want you guys all to do the same. Let's see those buck photos and hear those stories, and we're going to talk about it in the next live stream. Everybody, so if you're not subscribed to my channel, Spikes and Gills, yet, could you definitely subscribe to Spikes and Gills so you'll be notified of all future uploads. Click the notification bell so you will be notified of all future uploads on my Spikes and Gills YouTube channel. So you'll be able to watch the shorts, and you'll be notified of all regular mainstream uploads, regular episodes, and so forth, so on. And definitely check out the description below all my videos. In the description, you'll see there's the PayPal links for my books, Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets, and the Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. See, those books are right here somewhere. Let's get the two books out. So we've got Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets. Yeah. So the PayPal links for my 2 books are down in the descriptions below all the videos. The Sit Spot, Discover the Forest Near You. This book, The Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You, isn't really a hunting book. It's a woodsmanship guide. It's a guide to woodsmanship skills, to a guide to tracking and awareness and how to read the land, how to get real close to wildlife, to observe wildlife and learn from the wildlife. Hence the Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. And Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets it's like a 6-section book. It's section on coyote hunting, sections on bear hunting, sections on bobcat hunting, and section on deer hunting. I'm going to eventually have a volume 2 of Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets that will have moose hunting in it. But this first volume of Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets, this is a great coffee table style type book. It's a big book with a lot of photos. This book is packed with chapters about interviews I've had with the biologist Randy Cross, some biologists in Maine, interviews I've had with other successful hunters from other states that have come to Maine to hunt and were successful here. I share their stories of their hunts and things that they've learned along the way. Here I've got there's other interviews I've had with other hunters, their stories and things I learned from them are in here, and obviously my experiences and things I've learned along the way. It's all packed in this book, Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets. And then there's the Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. So the PayPal links to order any one of these 2 books is in the description below all my videos. And then there's the shopping icon. You can click on to browse the hoodies and t-shirts for the Spikes and Gills merch. So you gotta check all that out. So definitely subscribe to Spikes and Gills if you're not already. Great, appreciate your support and follow everybody. And I hope to see you back here on the live stream next Monday night. Hopefully. I'm trying my best to go live every single Monday night. I want to build this community strong, this hunting and fishing community on the Spikes and Gills live stream. I want it to grow and be strong. I want to have a lot of chatting going on and a lot of question and answer sessions going on. And I want to share your success stories. I want to see those emails coming in at wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. I want to see your photos and see your stories, success stories. I want you to join me live on Monday night for me to hear my shout out I'm going to give for you, show your pics, share your story, and you can join the chat away, type away to join everybody live, stuff, so on and so forth. Yeah. All right, everybody. I hope to see you back here next Monday night. Have a good night. Happy hunting. Wish you lots of success and happiness out there in your hunting endeavors, everybody. So see you next Monday. Oh, you thought I was leaving, didn't you? Yeah, someone new come on here. He says, howdy. Nico Unleashed says, howdy. How you doing, Nico? Looks like there's still a handful of people. I just said my goodbyes and was like this. Ready to say goodnight, but I don't want to leave anybody out. I want to make sure I answer questions. Nico says, doing good. What state we in? So this is Maine. What about you, Nico? Where are you from? Are you a hunter? We get a lot of non-hunters that come in, join the live stream every now and then. They stick around for a while because I think they enjoy learning. Oh, Ohio, sweet. Have you tagged out in Ohio, Nico? If you're still on here, we've got a guy on here from Ohio, bud. Hey, me and you, Jason Gibson, he's been a faithful follower of my live stream and my YouTube channel for a while. Me and him, we got to get together for some hunts and fishing. But we got to go out your neck of the woods, Nico. It says, yes, hunter and fisherman. I tagged out on my buck second day of opening. Sweet. Congratulations, buddy. I filled like 2 doe tags I had. I'm still chasing the target buck I'm after. There's 3 different bucks I'd like to get in my sights here in Maine. This buck, Nico, right over here was last year's bow buck. This was a 202-pound 9-point buck I shot on Halloween day with my bow last year in Maine. This is a Maine buck and all other Maine bucks, Maine turkey, Maine bear. So Nico, he says, thanks, man. Still after some does, though. Yeah, cool. So, hey, you didn't reverse. You got your buck, and then your does. I got my does. Now I'm after a buck. I got 2 does. I've got another doe tag for expanded archery, and I've got another either sex tag. So I could potentially shoot 2 bucks still, current, right now. I'm after Curly, a buck. I give the name Curly. I've got his sheds for the last 2 years in a row, Nico. And he's been playing cat and mouse with me with trail cameras. I've gotten pictures of him all trail. I've never laid my eyes, never seen him with my eyes, Curly. But I've got his both sides of his sheds from 2 years in a row. And I've got all kinds of trail camera videos and trail camera pictures of him. I've kind of narrowed down his home range in a sense and kind of several of his bedding areas. I've just been hunting him way too conservatively, I think, by staying on the fringes and edges. Maybe I need to just make the plunge and go in after him. Maybe that's how I'll eventually get him. He's been a sneaky bastard, this Curly. He's been giving me the slip and staying. He hides very well. He's at least 4.5 years old this year. 'Cause I got his shed antlers at 2 years old. I got his sheds at 3. He's 4 this year, and he's a stud. I hope to get him. Nico says, do you watch a lot of YouTube lives? I don't watch a lot of lives, but I watch a ton of YouTube videos from the National Deer Society, from growing deer, from deer and deer hunting, the Southern Outdoorsman, and Bill Winke. I watch his YouTube videos. I watch the podcasts off the YouTube, but I also listen to a lot of podcasts and such, so forth, so on. But I don't watch a lot of live streams. But I go live every Monday night, Nico. So if you could, definitely subscribe to Spikes and Gills and join us every Monday night. I'm building a hunting fishing community through my Spikes and Gills live stream every Monday night. And Nico, you can send your pics and story over to Wild Maine Outdoors, wildmaneoutdoors@gmail.com, WILDMAINEOUTDOORS@gmail.com, wildmaneoutdoors@gmail.com. Send your pics and short story, and I'll give you a shout out on Monday night. Show your pics and share your story, and you can join us live and chat away and talk about your hunt stuff with all of us. I've already shared Jason Gibson's pics and his story, so we want to. Yeah, and eventually I'll be the next several Mondays live streams will be all about deer and deer hunting. Eventually I'll transition into ice fishing season with my live streaming and such, so forth. And my YouTube videos uploads will be ice fishing after all the deer. The next several video episodes on my channel will be all about deer hunting tactics and such and so forth, so on, and some deer hunting mixed in there. So he said, "Oh, thank you, Nico. Appreciate that." But yeah, this Spikes and Gills YouTube channel is a couple years old. Being Spikes and Gills is, I've been learning about YouTube and dibbled down, like trying the YouTube thing for years prior to the channel being Spikes and Gills. But I finally am now just reaching 3,000 subscribers after a couple years, and the channel just exponentially grows. It never declines and goes backwards. My channel is always growing with support, and so I greatly appreciate it, bud. And I was just saying good night too, Nico. You just caught me before I was ready to go to bed. I've got to get up early for work. I'm a blueberry farmer too. I got to go spray the curb on an herbicide. This time of year, the ground has to be below 55 degrees to spray it. We can spray in damp weather and stuff, so forth, so on. But it kills only fescue and sheep sorrel, red sorrel and fescue. And this curb herbicide just targets these 2 pests only. This grass called fescue, and then this sheep sorrel, red sorrel type of stuff. But the blueberry fields get overrun by this stuff, so I've got to get up early to get to my sprayer and get out spraying the blueberry fields. And I'm also a wastewater operator for Maine Wild Blueberry. I do like get rid of the wastewater from the plant. A sprayer operator. I do a bunch of things. So, but thank you, Nico, for chiming in, for coming and saying hi. Thank you for the sub. And I hope you, I'm sorry that I'm leaving now, but I've been live for 99 minutes. How long's that? Like almost 2 hours. I've been live for almost 2 hours. It's the longest live stream I've done yet. And it's way past my bedtime. I'm probably looking sleepy in the eyes. I got to get up early for work. I did hunt this afternoon. I hope to be able to get out tomorrow afternoon. But this Saturday, I'm thinking I'm going to tag a buck. I'm hoping this Saturday I get that buck tag filled in. Then I can go expanded archery. I can go hunt with my bow again and expanded archery. So congratulations on your buck, Nico, and that great, great buck. I hope you send the pics along to wildmainoutdoors@gmail.com. Share your story about your hunt so I can give you a shout out next Monday night. We can talk about. I have other guys sending in their pics and stories, success stories, so we can talk about them, show the pics, do show and tell and such and so forth. So thank you everybody for joining me live. I want to see you back here next Monday night. And I wish you guys all the best of luck out there in your hunting endeavors. Be safe. Go fill your deer tags. Have fun doing it. And just always remember, hunt, shoot what makes you happy. Don't try to please a single soul but yourself. Do what you feel is right. Remember hunter's ethics, the code of ethics, the hunter's code. Be an ethical hunter, but do what makes you happy. Shoot what makes you feel happy. So I wish you guys all the best of luck out there, and be safe. God bless. I'll see you back here next Monday night. Good night, everybody.